Welcome to the Personal Tanya, day 25, where we are taking on chapter 12, third part of chapter 12 in the daily Tanya. Today's Hebrew date is the 16th day of Teves, and these are game-changing inspirations from the daily Tanya in approximately 5 minutes. Today's Tanya talks about the two special powers of our minds, where the big idea is going to be redefining prayer as a powerful and transformational meditation. You see, where we're holding in the Tanya right now is about understanding the Beinoni, which is the struggling Jew. We've understood the successful Jew. That's the one whose godly soul has completely tamed his animal soul. And we've understood the failing Jew. That's the one whose godly soul is actually dominated by his animal soul. But the struggling Jew, the Beinoni, the hero of the Tanya, is the one who has a bit of a hybrid. On a practical level, his godly soul dominates the natural soul. But the godly soul has not tamed it at all. It is strong as ever. And hence, the Beinoni, the struggling Jew, is managing his animal soul, but he's not dominating over it. And the reason why this is because there's actually two beautiful powers of our mind. You see, mind dominates over the heart. Naturally, this is something which comes naturally to us, that our thoughts control our emotions, our wisdom, our ideas control our feelings. And therefore, if you choose to change your thought with a different thought, you will then be suffocating the very root of that emotion. So if you're thinking about something that makes you angry and you don't want to think about that thing that makes you angry, think about something else. You can only think about one thing at a time. And when you think about something else, you will thus be dissipating that emotion. So the first power of intellect, of wisdom, of our minds, is to be able to divert the thoughts and thus starve the subsequent emotion, and thus control our thought, speech, and action, the garments of our soul. Because if we can just be mindful of what we're thinking, we will then not be thinking thoughts that create toxic emotions, which lead to the expression of the animal soul in thought, speech, and action. So that's the first power of thought. But then there's a second power of thought, which is not a power of diverting thoughts. It's a power of focusing thoughts, of meditation. Meditation, we learned earlier in Tanya in chapter 3, is a laser focus on one idea. When you focus on an idea, not like Eastern meditations, which is to think about nothing. The Tanya meditation is about focusing fully on an idea like a laser and really focusing on it. When you do that, when you laser focus on something, when you meditate, and that's what we do in prayer, you now actually create a new emotion. So if you're thinking about an idea of your godly soul, about an idea about God, let's say, or God's greatness or God's wonders, how God creates and manages this amazing world with all of its amazing details, you're then going to give birth to an emotion which comes out of that meditation, and that is going to then seep into your thought, speech, and action. And then when you do that, you will not only be managing your animal soul, you'll actually be dominating your animal soul for the duration of the meditation. And that's what today's Tanya is telling us. It's telling us that the Beinoni needs to be constantly vigilant not to let the animal soul go out of control. He's constantly suppressing his animal soul. But while he's meditating during prayer, when he focuses his thoughts, he's creating emotions. Now, at that time, he's actually he's not just managing, he's actually dominating over his animal soul. And this is because the mind rules over the heart. Like light banishes darkness, like light has a natural superiority over darkness. It's never a competition when you have light and dark together. It's never a competition about who's going to win. You always know who's going to win. A little bit of light banishes a lot of darkness. In much the same way, wisdom expels emotion. Things that make sense truth expels folly. And that's why the godly soul can naturally expel or manage the animal soul. But that's only when it comes to the management of the thought, speech, and action of the garments of the soul. Really, the Beinoni, the struggling Jew, is going to have to struggle for the rest of his life with the vigilance of his animal soul not breaking out of control, whenever he's not actively meditating, which is what we should be doing during prayer, during davening. Davening is not just a recital of words in a foreign language. Prayer is actually a deep, transformative emotional experience where we're meditating on a godly wisdom, like these ideas that we're learning in Tanya. You're supposed to watch these videos over, read the text inside, make it yours, and reflect and meditate deeply upon it as you pray, so that when you do that, you will be creating emotions. But when the Bainani, the struggling Jew, is not praying, he's going to have to constantly be aware of creeping thoughts, and he needs to make sure that he's never going to be caught off guard. The big question we're left with is why? Why would God want the Bainani, the struggling Jew, to struggle his entire life? Is there an end to the struggle? That's going to come up a little bit later in the Tanya. Don't go away. But for today, that's a wrap. Let's try to apply. You can do this.